Let's talk about trauma bonds today. Um, this may be something that you've never heard of, or something that you're very familiar with when you're dealing with narcissistic relationships and the dysfunctional family dynamics that come from narcissistic parents. The first time I was introduced to the word trauma bond was through my therapist. And she challenged me one time to not call my mother in between my therapy sessions. And I questioned that. I did not understand why that would be a big deal. And her challenge was she wanted to prove to me that I was caught up in the trauma bond. She told me between this session and the next session to not call my mother and see if we do speak, see who calls the one first, each other first. I walked out of her office very assured that that was not an issue. And of course, my mother was going to call me. My mother didn't call me. And I said, oh, wow. And I noticed how many times I would pick up the phone to call her. That was very eye opening for me. So let's define what a trauma bond actually is. A trauma bond is a strong emotional attachment that forms between a victim and their abuser, often a result of cycles of abuse and intermittent reinforcement. So, what does that mean? The cycles of abuse come in between love bombing or doing things to being generous. So, what it does is it confuses the victim because the victim can always rationalize that the issue that happened before the love bombing wasn't real, but it's definitely real. So that's what a trauma bond is. So there's like a reward and punishment type thing that goes on between the victim and the abuser. And if you really are honest with yourself, the rewards are much more rewarding for them than it is for you, whatever that reward may be. So, what are the signs of a trauma bond? Difficulty leaving or setting boundaries despite the harm. Um, I've talked about this before in previous videos, but if I really think about the biggest trauma that my mother caused me, I would probably have to do a top five. But so I don't want to say this is number one and this is number five. So I'll probably have a top five. The biggest one was when she and her brother stole my money and they tricked me out of an inheritance. That was very harmful. Why was it harmful? For one, I was only 18 years old. I had just gotten married. I was not pregnant, but I wouldn't say a model student, but I made good grades and I really loved learning. And my intentions was to go to college. And I was not able to do that because financially it would have been too much on me. And she stole my money right in my face. And all the money went to the golden child. So why did I have a difficulty just walking away and leaving when she left me hanging? Um, Trauma bond. We rationalize or we minimize the abuse. And I think about this all the time because that decision that she made to take that money from me, it changed my life really even up till today. I still have issues and money blocks and fears of certain things because of what was done to me with that money and the way it happened and who it happened from. But up until a certain point in my life, I could always rationalize that it really didn't happen, but it did. It really did. And I can remember when it first happened, and I realized what happened. Me and my husband went to an attorney, and the attorney told me, well, this was a long time ago. I was only at the time maybe 20, 21 when I realized that all the money was gone. And the attorney told me, she said, if you don't press charges on your mother, this is going to affect you. And at the time, I only had one kid, and he was right under 2. She said, if you don't press charges, this situation is going to affect that baby. I didn't understand what she meant. She was absolutely correct. And I remember when we walked out of the attorney's office and we got back in the car, we're young. We got this little kid. At the time, the golden child was still in high school or just getting ready to get out of high school. I can't really remember, but he was young. And I remember I told my husband, I said, I can't, I can't put her in jail. I said, I can't do that because I don't want my brother to have to deal with the fact that his mother's in jail. Um, that was minimalizing the reality of what I was going through, like literally. Um, I had a difficult time setting boundaries with her. It took a lot of things. That's why I said the top 5, they get worse. They don't get better, they get worse. Um, so that's one of the identifiers of being in a trauma bond. You're overly loyal and you feel responsible for the abuser. Like you will start to make things be your fault. Um, and the difference between a trauma bond and a healthy bond, one of the main things that I realized, the difference in the abuser and the victim in a trauma bond, narcissistic relationship versus a healthy bond. In a healthy bond, things they give. If you love, they love. There's no push down, push down, push down all the time, and you're struggling for air, and that person is watching you drown. And right before you're taking your last breath, they say, oh, I didn't see you drowning. Are you okay? And you're gasping for air. Oh my God, oh my God. That's the difference. A healthy bond never puts you in a situation of being about to drown. Doesn't happen. Um, Another thing that really, really identifies the difference between a healthy bond for me and a trauma bond, and I didn't realize what this issue was until very, very recently. When you walk away and you not walk away in a defiant way, but if you're in conversations with the narcissist, the enabler, the golden child, the flying monkeys, when you walk away from them and you turn your back, you feel the daggers. I've been feeling that for years, but I did not have a name for it. I did not have a name for it. So we've identified what a trauma bond is. So in the next video, we're going to talk about how does this trauma bond play out in the mother-daughter dynamic? And we'll explore that in the next video.